Ferrari fan. Unfortunately, I still am a Ferrari fan. Times are a bit tough these days. They're not like they were back then.
For your sins.
But sorry.
For your sins.
Yeah, I'm paying for my sins. I'm paying for all the dirty tricks Schumacher did when I was a kid. So yeah.
Welcome to the Wimbo Worldwide F1 podcast.
F1 content around the globe.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Wimbo Worldwide F1 podcast, episode 10. We're starting again this year, and this year we're not going to do all different countries like I tried to do last year, but this year I'm going to find myself some really nice F1 content creators or TV presenters, book writers, drivers, world champions, you name it. I'm going to try to have them on this podcast. And to start off the season, I have with me Mr. Pulse,
Hello.
a really good and smart F1 YouTuber who focuses on the data more than the actual vibes. So he's pretty much the opposite of what I do on my channel. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a big welcome to Mr. Pulse.
Hello. How are we all doing? How you doing, Wimbo? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Excellent.
nice
This is
little
actually
Saturday.
weird. It's like one of the first times I really show my face off. I don't do this very often.
This is a face reveal.
Yeah, it's almost like a big face reveal. I think the last time I did one was maybe, May last year for Monaco in qualifying. Other than that, I don't show my face off a great deal. I don't show it off on my channel at all. I haven't got a single video with a face cam.
I've seen your face on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, it's all over Twitter. I'm usually getting shat on by people. I think the usual one, my favorite insult was I'm a wish.com Robert Kubica because my hairline has seen better days. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It's different.
I call myself Poundland's Matt Gallagher.
I wouldn't go that far.
So, well, my first question is, how did you fall in love with Formula One? Let's start there.
Let's start there. Well, how much time have we got? We've got a whole calendar for a year.
I like to
It's
keep
taken me a long time.
I like to keep my podcast around an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, for me, I basically grew up on F1. I think my entire family have been massive Formula One fans. So for me, I legitimately started. The first race I remember watching was the 2000 British Grand Prix. I was maybe 4 years. I was about 4 years old then. Was it 4? Yeah, 4 years old. First ever race. That's the one I remember. And I think the main reason I remember it is just because of how colourful the cars were back then. Nothing like today, where everything's black and blue. But yeah, I was hooked on it from then. I think the sound. Grew up basically watching Michael Schumacher, as all kids who grew up in the 2000s did, who watched Formula One back then. So I became a huge Schumacher fan. Ferrari fan. Unfortunately, I still am a Ferrari fan. Times are a bit tough these days. They're not like they were back then.
For your sins.
But sorry.
For your sins.
Yeah, I'm paying for my sins. I'm paying for all the dirty tricks Schumacher did when I was a kid. So yeah. But yeah, it was basically that. Yeah, grew up watching it, stayed with it throughout the entire time. I think when Lewis came along, it was, you might hate this, but everyone in Britain became a bit more of a Formula One fan, I think, when Lewis started, because he started so well. He had a great rookie season. Okay, he wasn't a top car, but he did a good job in a top car. All right, he had some benefits of McLaren favouring him, but, he did a fantastic job, so that helped keep me on. And then as the years went on, I just got more into Formula One, and I got more into the other aspects of Formula One as opposed to just the racing. I got interested in the numbers, the data. I went to university, did aerospace engineering. The intention was to get a job in Formula One, and didn't go that far, but I carried on with my interest and love for Formula One, and yeah, that's basically where my love grew from there.
I didn't know you you were such a learned professor in the F1 space.
Yeah, I didn't start that way. When I started making F1 content, but I always had it in the back of my mind. It was always something I was interested in, but I never made content on it. Originally, when I started making F1 content, I made gameplay content. Um, I had a channel about 14 years ago where I made F1 gaming content. Did that for a couple of years, then stopped, and then started again in like 2017 time, and then did that for all of 6 months, stopped, got rid of that channel. And then I made the Mr. Pulse channel in 2022. Started off with F1 content. So I started off with F1 22 gameplay. And then as the year went on, I realized I sort of integrated a little bit of my preview and predictions videos that I do a lot more these days. And I noticed they were doing a hell of a lot better than the F1 22 gameplay. So I moved from gameplay to actual F1. I realized I enjoy it a lot more. I think it's a lot more interesting than gameplay. And it also performed a lot better. So those were the two things. I enjoyed it more, and in terms of content, it was better content.
Well, I watch a lot of YouTube help channels, because I'm still learning
Yeah.
how to do it all. But they advise people, that start on YouTube to pivot. So you start off with doing all kinds of different things, and then
Yeah.
you get hooked on something, and you see something that works, and then you stick to it. I think for myself, I'm still in the discovery phase because I'm doing live streams, podcasts, videos, short videos.
Yeah, do a bit of everything and see what works best for you and
Yeah.
go from there. Yeah, I think that was it for me. Was I as soon as I got onto doing actual F1 content, for me I was like, right, let's boom, 180 degrees. We're going straight down that route as opposed to the gameplay content. If I was still doing the gameplay content, I'd probably have 500 subscribers or maybe 10 views a video, because the F1 game is dead. Like, it's not doing very well at all in terms of content, whereas actual F1 content is still doing very well. And I think it's just more interesting. I personally find it more interesting. I don't need to sit and watch another YouTuber do a career mode series when Tiamat Marduk or Arava or Alex Gillen do a million of them a year anyway. So, yeah, I find this a hell of a lot more interesting.
Would you consider yourself like a competitor to Break F1? Is it?
I'm nowhere near as knowledgeable as Blake when
Yeah,
it
I
comes
know
to
that, but
actual
it's the
F1.
same sort of content.
Yeah.
The database F1 content.
Yeah, Blake does fantastic content. I mean, he's not going to be doing as much of it this year, so I
No,
guess I haven't really got a competitor in that sense
don't come
anymore.
back.
But no, he might do. He might do. He might get bored of IMSA. I doubt it because IMSA's awesome. But yeah, I wouldn't say a competitor because I think whilst I do a lot of the data stuff like Blake, I think I do give a little bit more of an opinion on things. Like, I don't just go, here's what the numbers say, bang. I like to add a little bit of an opinion whilst using the numbers to help back it up. I think mine's definitely a bit more casual because, hands up, I'm definitely nowhere near as experienced as Blake when it comes to the data stuff because, well, he did it for a living and I just, use the tools I have, which is not as good as the tools he used. So yeah, I don't know about a competitor, but we make similar content.
You probably use multi-viewer for F1 as well, then.
I use it. Yeah, I use Multiviewer. Yeah, it's awesome. Multiviewer is amazing. If you've got access to Multiviewer and you're not using it, you are not getting the full experience of Formula One. Multiviewer just gives you so much more options. If you've got F1 TV, you can use it. If you're using Sky F1 or Now TV, sadly you can't in the UK, or you've got access to it in the Dutch media, haven't you? You guys use it, so it's all right for you. But yeah, in the UK, thanks to Sky basically blocking everything, it's very difficult to use multi-viewer. But there are ways around it, and I do use it, and it's amazing. It's an incredible tool.
But I have a video idea about getting like 4 or 5 content creators and then make a video about 5 reasons to use multi-viewer for F1. And I asked permission on the people of multi-viewer, and they gave me a sort of not a real go ahead, but they said something like, of course we want to see how people use multi-viewer for F1. So, but in my section of the video, I'd probably just show them that I put it on a driver that's about to go on an overtake, or
Yeah.
somebody who's running in on another driver, and then I'm always focused on the radio. But I'm not the type of F1 fan that puts up tire data, or the yeah, all that sort of
Yeah.
difficult stuff. No, I go past that. But I'm interested in the driver's experience, or how they interact with the team. The GP Max discussions are always fun to follow.
They're a roller coaster of emotions every single
You know,
race, to be honest.
sometimes there's a race where Lewis Hamilton is very active, and then I put it on Lewis Hamilton, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's going to be a couple of laps before he says that his tires are going to go, and I can't make it, man.
Yeah, and then
Like,
they go another
there we
15
have it.
laps, and he does a few fastest laps in between whilst he's
Bingo.
running out of tires.
So, but that's how I use multi-viewer for F1. But you probably have all these fancy bits and bobs opened up.
I like to have open when I've got it on a second screen is I'll have the tire life, so the age of the tires. I like to have that open, so the telemetry side of things. I like to have that open because sometimes you can learn a little, like for my videos it would be perfect for me because I can learn a little bit that I can then use when I go on to say when I go on to then do the race data analysis, where I look at the times and how they all inevitably go like that, but then all of a sudden they drop when they're on fresh tires, or someone might not drop as much because they're not on as fresh tires. They go onto your used set of tires. So I do like to use that, but ultimately I do like. Well, the main thing I like about multi-viewer is that what you said. I don't have the team radio open because I don't care about that, but I have like multi screens open so I can watch like a certain driver. I love to have that open because I noticed from when I've been to F1 races in the past, a lot of people say you miss a lot when you go live. But me personally, I saw more live than I saw on TV, which is not a huge thing. A lot of people tend to miss a lot of things when you go live, and that's understandable. But like when I went to the British Grand Prix in 2021, yeah, that's that race. I went to that race. What I saw, what you didn't see on live, was I watched Sergio Perez going through the field because he was making all of his overtakes at Stowe Corner, which is where I was sat. They showed maybe 5 overtakes of him at Stowe, whereas he went through the field, went to the back, and then went through the field, and then they pitted him again for whatever reason I can't remember. But then, you got to see a lot more. So that was one of the rare occasions where, being in person, you could see a lot more. And that's the benefit also of multi-viewer, is you can go and watch Sergio Perez, and you can watch a lot more that you wouldn't see on television, because for whatever reason they don't always show a top driver coming through the field, which I think is nonsensical, because you want to watch the top drivers go through the field. You don't want to watch them go through the field when they reach P10.
I was in Austria last season.
Yeah.
And the corner where I was sitting during the race was the corner where Perez tried it on Leclerc about 3 times before
Yeah.
succeeding. But I never looked at it that way. But yeah, that was actually maybe better than on TV. But I think going to a Formula One race is all about the vibes and the camaraderie with all the other fans.
Yeah. It's a
it's a
different.
lot less toxic than Twitter.
Yeah, I agree. When you go to a race, for people that have never been to a race and are considering it, I know you do get those like reports of someone being abused or getting, some garbage happens. And I won't say that doesn't happen, because it probably does. But in general, the people that go to a race are not the people that sit on Twitter, X, whatever, and chat garbage all race long. They are the people that will sit, watch a race, enjoy what they're watching, and then go about their day. It's definitely a different experience. You get you get less of the toxic garbage, and you just get people that enjoy it. They enjoy it even when their driver doesn't do very well. I had to enjoy Silverstone 2021, where Leclerc almost won the race and then got overtaken with 2 laps left to go.
Yeah.
And I had to sit in a field of Lewis Hamilton fans all going very happy whilst I'm very sad. But I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. I conducted a few interviews with people all dressed in Mercedes gear in Zandvoort, and none of them.
Lewis fans in Zandvoort?
Yes, yes, and but nobody had a bad time.
No, no, you wouldn't. It's so much better. It's unbelievable. I remember, what was it, going into the 2021 Dutch Grand Prix, and there was like a big thing on Twitter of everyone going, "Oh, Lewis is gonna have to watch for his safety because the Dutch fans are gonna throw tomatoes at him or something along those lines." And it's like he actually had one of the best receptions all year at Zandvoort.
Yeah. Well,
And it's like
he was
it's
very
so different.
clever. He arrived on Thursday in orange clothes.
Yeah.
I still have a picture of it. It looked really cool. His orange glasses
Yeah.
on.
Exactly. It's different. And it's like, I think, well, you mentioned Break, his content, him as a content creator. He said it in the past. The difference between like when he was in the working in the pits and working for a team, everyone, like the different teams all got on. Like all the
Yeah.
people in different teams got on. They had none of this like, I'm gonna kill you if Max beats Lewis or anything, that no dumpster fire. They weren't even aware of it. I'm sure they're more aware of it these days because they're allowed to have Twitter, which they
Hmm.
weren't when he was in the paddock. But so they're more aware of it. But it's so different, like when you're there versus the online space.
No, I think everybody should go to a race. Everybody
Yeah,
that loves
absolutely,
F1. So, do
absolutely.
you have any plans going to a race this season?
Not this year, not unless I get invited somehow to a race. Mainly, it's just because of my life situation right now.
Well,
Not in a
I'll tell
position.
you one thing. If I get a silver play button this year, then I'll take you to a race.
Hey, look, I would really appreciate that. So yeah, get grinding.
I only need 98,400 more subscribers. So,
You're nearly there then. Nearly there. We just need
but
an exciting year.
but
We
the
need someone to challenge your favorite driver, and then that might happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, and what are your goals on YouTube?
My goals on YouTube this year is to, the first thing is keep grinding out the content that I'm grinding because it is working. And I think with a lot of big YouTubers calling it quits and people are stopping their podcasts, there's such a big opportunity. So for me, my goal is to at a minimum hit 10K. I think at the minute I'm on 4.5. So I'm a good way there. So at the minimum I want to hit that. And for me, one of my big goals is to get back into making other things. Like I did a few shorts. I think I made 3 shorts. I need to make more of those. So get back on shorts, make like, a good short, like a short once a week or something like that. But my goal is to keep making content, make more data analysis, make better data analysis videos. I've got a few ideas for this year, which I started off last year where I was essentially leeching off of someone else whilst I was still getting better at it, but start making my own better data analysis. Start looking more into things like who had top speed of drivers, who had draggier cars, who had less downforce, what are their engine position, like who's got more power. Like we know that, for example, Alpine's down on power, but sometimes they have a better top speed even though they've got less power. How do they do that? Well, obviously the main thing is they trim their wings. So start getting into a bit more detail on my videos. That's my main goal. Make better content, basically.
Yeah. No, but that's a really good goal to have. And what I've noticed in the year that I've been a content creator is that you can try all kinds of tricks to get more subscribers.
Yeah,
I done a podcast with Tim Coronel, who's a pundit in Holland and a rally driver. He's in
yep,
Dakar right now.
yeah,
Yeah, and I thought, oh my god, 5,000 people are going to watch this podcast, and all of them are going to subscribe, and it gained me like a handful of subscribers. Because if you want to grow on YouTube, you need to make really good videos,
yeah,
videos
basically,
that catch people's attention.
yeah,
And what I'm finding out now, when a video doesn't do well, that even the quality doesn't even really matter if the idea is bad. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Yeah, the idea needs to be good. That's why I like what I
So
do.
last year when I was still learning everything and I didn't have this fancy microphone and you name it, I still had videos reaching 600, 800, 1,000 views. And now I'm making a video and I've got the studio all done up and I've got a
Yeah,
microphone and I know how to talk in the camera and I know how to edit it on DaVinci Resolve and you name it, it's all better. But I still get videos doing 455 views,
yeah,
because the idea was probably not good enough. One of the best videos that I've ever seen, with data involved was Break's video about Spa.
yeah,
Red Bull in Spa. They were lifting at a certain turn because
yeah,
otherwise they would have grinded down the plank too much.
yeah. Eau Rouge, yeah.
Um,
That was fantastic. I
Now,
really liked that.
like there was a certain reveal, at 3/4 of the video, and if you can find, just how you said, Alpine is clipping their wings, so sometimes they're quicker. There's a video in that.
Yeah,
If you say, "What's the magic trick Alpine is doing to be faster in this, on that track?" and then halfway through or towards the end, you reveal it,
yeah,
and
yeah. Absolutely,
I
I
couldn't
agree.
make that content because I'm not one for the data.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we just need something exciting to happen this year, and then there's a chance of that. So if there
Yeah,
becomes an opportunity for that, I intend to
like a
do that. That's what
Gasly.
I'm saying with me personally making more in depth um, data videos this year. Now that I've got more skills, um, I can find that a lot better. I mean, I started to find it towards the end, but I wouldn't make the video around that, which is something that I may need to start doing this year, or I should really start doing this year if I find something like that. Like I remember the Melbourne one. I believe I did a race data analysis video for that, but I didn't make a good enough emphasis on when Max Verstappen was blasting past everyone, like when he overtook Lewis Hamilton and then opened up a second gap within 2 corners or something like that. The main reason was because if you actually look at Lewis's speed one lap to the next, he's actually a hell of a lot slower when Verstappen overtakes him and then goes, "Man, how did you do it so quickly?" We know why. It's actually because you were harvesting and you weren't using as much energy. You even had a slight lift where you didn't the lap before. So that's why he got past you. You sort of made it look more pronounced than it actually
Yes, because
was.
they were working towards a TD.
Yes, at the time. Yes.
That's something I could make a video about. You
Yeah.
know, the dirty trick Lewis Hamilton did to get a TD.
Yeah, potentially there is a content in that. There's content in that for both of us. But if something like that happens this year, like or something around that, then I intend to try and maybe make more of an emphasis on that
Well,
this year.
you can always drop me a line on Twitter or send me an email if you have an idea.
Yeah, that
And
sounds good.
I'll do the same for you.
Yeah, sounds
So
good.
the next topic is favorite driver and team, and I think I can guess who your favorite team is. Haas.
Mercedes, obviously. I hate Ferrari.
Haas.
Well, look, they work with Ferrari. No, I don't think anyone likes Haas.
Not with
My
Steiner
favorite.
gone.
Yeah, well, Steiner's gone. Yeah, what the one reason people liked him and that he's gone now. So why does anyone care about Haas? Haas don't even care about Formula One. Let's be honest. Anyway, my favorite driver and team obviously is Ferrari. Favorite driver at the moment is Charles Leclerc, even if he puts it in the wall every once in a while. At least keeps you entertained. So Charles Leclerc is my favorite driver at the moment. The reason I like him is not just because he's a Ferrari driver. I became a fan of him in F2. That was, or GP2 it was called, I think, when he first started. I was a huge into GP2, F2. I had more time back then, and I remember watching that year. And the first sprint race, I believe it was in Bahrain, he did a pit stop, or he did an extra pit stop, which nobody did. Nobody did a pit stop in a sprint race. He didn't need to. He did one, had to make his way through the field, and that one race made me go, "Oh wow, this kid's good. This kid's really good." And then obviously the Baku one when he did it just after his dad had died. Made me a big fan. And then his first year in F1, where he was with Alfa Romeo, I think they were still called Sauber, but he trounced Ericsson. He did a brilliant race in, I think it's the German Grand Prix. I think he has there's a moment where he does a pirouette and just keeps going, and I was like, oh, that's good. He's held it. He's done a spin, but he still held it. Sort of like Verstappen in Brazil, where he had a spin, he held it, even though he was spinning, and he looked amazing. And then obviously went up to Ferrari, had a fantastic rookie year in Ferrari. Okay, he had a bit of an illegal engine, which helped him along a little bit, but he still, went up against Vettel and did a brilliant job. And then obviously 2020, he still had a couple of good races, even in what was an absolute shitbox of a Ferrari. And in 2021, it's still a shitbox of a Ferrari, but he still stuck it on pole at a couple of races, led most of the British Grand Prix that I was at. I was like, all right, this is why I like this guy. He is rapid. And then 2022, same thing, rapid. All right, he made some errors that year. And 2023 was a bad year, but he still had a fantastic recovery. And by the end of the year, he was the one to fight Max. Even if the Ferrari wasn't as good as the Red Bull, which it wasn't. It was very good in a straight line. It's very efficient, but overall, it's still not as good as the Red Bull. But yeah, Charles Leclerc is my favorite. And I think growing up as a Ferrari fan who grew up, like I said, in the 2000s, has to be Michael Schumacher. He made Ferrari for me as a kid.
So, do you think his reputation as a crasher is unfair? I'm asking you this because I watched or I listened to the podcast of Cameron. With Peter Windsor.
Yeah.
And at some point they're talking about Charles Leclerc and how the Ferrari cars in the recent years have been really feeble. Cars that have understeer and oversteer in the same turn. And I actually admire Leclerc for always going for it 100%.
Yeah.
With the risk of crashing.
Yeah.
So I find the reputation of him being a crasher unfair because there's more happening. Why that's happening?
Yeah, I agree. He does make, look, I'm not going to deny it, he makes some occasional blunders. But in general, a lot of them I don't think have been that fair. The idea that he's a crasher, I do find it to be unfair. Carlos Sainz had just as many incidents, if not more, than Charles Leclerc last year.
Well,
it's great to say 2023 last year.
He has that reputation too, like he's always in the gravel.
Oh, he had that reputation in 2022 where he was beaching it every other race where there was a gravel trap. That is true. But I think Charles Leclerc gets more of a hit than Carlos Sainz, I think, when it comes to that. And I don't think it's fair. What I admire about Leclerc, like I said, he's rapid. He goes for it every single time. And all right, he sometimes pushes it over the edge. I think, France 22 was him pushing it over the edge.
In free practice, he had a wobble in that same turn.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes for it. It's sort of like...
So it was something with the car that made it especially tricky in that corner.
Yeah.
And...
Well, he likes it like that, though. He likes it on edge because it is ultimately, if you're on the edge, you are ultimately probably going to be going faster, but you do sometimes push it a little bit too far and then end up in the wall. I find it sort of like Marc Marquez in MotoGP. He's a rider, for people who don't know anything about MotoGP. He is a rider that is famous for being unbelievably fast. He's also famous for being a rider that throws it in the gravel every other weekend or every other session. Like there are weekends where he had crashed every single practice session, qualifying and in the race. But yet he's still up in third place, whereas the rest of the Hondas in MotoGP are like 15th, 16th place. He's up in the podium positions. And that's what I respect about Marc Marquez in MotoGP, is what I respect about Charles Leclerc as well. They just go for it. They're fast. Sometimes they push it over the edge, but in general, they're rapid. And that's why I just respect that. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for them that do that.
Yeah, well, I'd say Leclerc is my second favorite driver. I'll not be too caught up if Leclerc wins the championship this year.
I don't think he will, but but I'd like to see him win a couple of races, but I don't think he'll go much further. Nice.
So, is there any drivers you dislike or teams?
there's no one I hate,
No.
if that's what you're saying. There are drivers I like less than others, but I don't dislike anyone. I think if there was one that I didn't like, it's Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Why would he's there because his dad owns a team. He would have been sacked years ago if his dad didn't own the team. But Lance Stroll, I'll give him his props. I will give him his flowers when he earns them. And he stuck it on pole in the Racing Point. He got a podium in his rookie year in a Williams. He also got a front row start in his rookie year as a Williams. And I think those deserve credit. But I think Lance Stroll over the years has progressively gotten worse, not better. And I think a big reason for that is because his dad owns a team. And I think there's less pressure on him to actually perform. And that I can't. Your dad owns a team.
I think it's the upbringing as well.
Yeah.
As you know, I know a lot about Max and Jos Verstappen.
Yeah.
And I think Lawrence was the type of father that would shout at his kid and maybe send him to his room, but he probably wouldn't go to the lengths of what Jos did.
He wouldn't leave him at a petrol station.
No, but I mean, I hear stories of Lance Stroll being brought to the karting track with a helicopter, a 20-minute drive, and Jos and Max they spent weeks in that little white van.
Yeah.
Sleeping in it and camping in it. So a lot of luxury that Lance had probably made him mentally a little bit less strong than Max.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I actually defended Lance when he first started, even though I knew he only got the Williams seat because his dad brought in sponsorship. But I still defended him because I know he had a great F3 season, even if the only reason he had a great F3 season was because he had a better engine than everyone else. But he still had a great season. And he was a rookie, so he was allowed to make mistakes. But I'd argue he made less mistakes in those years than he makes these days. He makes more mistakes now. And the reason I think that is because there is less pressure on him. There was still pressure on him in those days because even though his dad was basically helping Williams to survive, he wasn't owning the team. So Lance could still have lost his seat.
Yeah.
Whereas now he has no reason to perform. Like, he's just getting slapped around by Fernando and not that bothered about it. He's like, it's all right, man.
That's my biggest problem with Lance. Every interview he does, he doesn't seem bothered. And then the one time he does get hot and bothered when he pushes his assistant, it's on camera.
Yeah. Well, yeah. At least that made it look like he does care, though. I suppose. But yeah, that if I had one driver I didn't like, it is Lance Stroll for that reason. Is I don't see someone who gives a damn. I see someone that's just there because they can be there.
See, I see all the Formula One drivers as sort of relatives or cousins, and they all have their good sides and they're part of something, so they're family. Yeah, so sometimes they annoy you. I for instance, I think George Russell is a lovely fella.
All right, mate.
But then when he gets into his PR mode, and he's doing his poses, like, even if he's sitting on the what do you call it, the driver's parade, and he's sitting in a car. He do it like this.
Yeah. Not your way. You don't like that.
So the whole poser side of George Russell, I can't stand. But then he makes me laugh a lot of the times as well.
Yeah.
And all these drivers have it. Like Norris is always perceived as this lovely innocent kid, but he's got a little nasty side as well, and sometimes it pops up, and I like that.
Yeah, whenever Piastri's ahead of him.
Yeah. All of them, I like them, but they have their bad sides as well. And then usually the lower they are in on the grid, the less you care about them. Like I've very little to say about Logan Sargent.
He's a driver. He's there. He's American.
Yeah.
Logan, actually. I think Logan had I know he wasn't. He didn't set the world on fire. Let's be honest. But I think Logan's ability through the year was impressive. He got better as the year went on, which is ultimately what you want to see from a rookie, especially given how little testing time they get these days and how little preparation. I don't actually know how much preparation Logan had, but it wasn't a lot because he only just did enough mileage to get the super license to even perform in F1. So he didn't have a lot of testing. And obviously, preseason testing is 3 days now, which is ludicrous, I think. And that's it. So he has a day and a half to get used to a car, which might not even be ready to go out on track because Williams isn't always ready at preseason testing. So he hasn't got a lot of time to get used to the car. And I think as the year went on, he did ultimately get better. He hasn't got great race pace, let's be honest, but his qualifying pace, he eventually, as the year went on, started getting out of Q1, got into Q2, got a couple of Q3s. All right, it all fell apart in the race, but he got there in qualifying, and that's what you want to see. I'm interested to see if Logan can improve this year. I don't think he'll be anywhere near Albon still, but I think he has a chance to, earn a couple of points and not get a point because two drivers got disqualified.
Yeah. Well, James Vowles has a lot of trust in him, and it speaks for James Vowles that he went out of his way to explain the decisions he made with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I love James Vowles.
Yeah,
he's
me
fantastic. For a team principal, he's fantastic. Like, ultimately, we still have no idea what the hell a team principal actually brings to a team. Like, nobody really knows. Everyone thinks they know, but nobody really knows.
No.
But what we get out of James Vowles is a hell of a lot more than we get out of some other team principals, and you get a better understanding of what he does because he's happy to explain everything and go into minute details about a lot of things.
And like he can just rant on, present for ages.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's using a teleprompter or anything or a script.
Yeah, he's incredible. I couldn't do that.
No, me either.
I've always got my script.
If I meet him someday, I'll ask him how he does that.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic.
Have you met any famous Formula One people?
No.
No,
No, I know you met a few at the Dutch Grand Prix, didn't you, last year?
I did. Because a lot of English people go to that Goodwood festival, and there's a lot of drivers there. And
yeah, I was due to go to Goodwood Festival of Speed last year, but the day I was due to go is the day it was cancelled because of bad weather. So I was gutted because I'd only bought one day, and that one day was the day that they cancelled because of, I think it was bad wind and rain. I think it was some like 80-mile-an-hour winds, so they couldn't send the cars out. And I was gutted because I was hoping to do that. I was hoping to get in there. And bought everything to go like into the paddock and everything, and then it was cancelled. So yeah, no, I haven't, and I would have loved to. That would have been my best opportunity.
Well, see, if you're not going to any races, that might be an idea.
Yeah, well, this year myself and my partner are planning on going to Goodwood Revival. And I know that there are a few like F1 people that do go to Goodwood Revival, like Karen Chandok's there pretty much every year. So it'd be great to see him. Yeah, Goodwood Revival is sort of like, well, you've got the Festival of Speed, which is just all this lineage of cars throughout different decades and eras, and then some futuristic cars. It's brilliant. You get to watch them go up the runway and everything. Goodwood Revival is sort of like, it's a throwback to like the, 40s, 50s time. Everyone's dressed up wearing your flat caps and your, you got your tweed on and everyone's dressed up. It's really nice. It's like a fun little thing if you're into, I guess, cosplaying the 1940s. So yeah, no, we're looking at going to that, which should be awesome. I'm excited for that.
Good. Well, let me know how it was.
Yeah, I will do.
Let's go to the next topic. Did you find the 2023 season dull?
No, I didn't. I thought Max Verstappen. If you watch F1 to see who wins, absolutely, it was the most boring thing you could watch. Unless you're a Max Verstappen fan, of course, then you loved it. I think, memorized the Dutch national anthem because of him. But the 2023 season wasn't dull. No, it was incredible. if you ignore Max Verstappen, it was a brilliant year. You genuinely had behind Max Verstappen every single race, pretty much a different driver, a different team fighting Max Verstappen or fighting for to be best of the rest. Like Bahrain, Ferrari was the second fastest until it self imploded. Saudi Arabia, Aston Martin. After that, then you had Mercedes was ahead of Aston Martin. And then McLaren came up and they were ahead of Mercedes. And Aston Martin had jumped back ahead of Mercedes. And then out of nowhere, Ferrari came in at the end of the year, swooped in, and they were fighting with McLaren to see who was going to fight Max Verstappen. Every single race, there was a different driver, a different team fighting to be the best of the rest. And that is what made it exciting. Okay, Verstappen ran off into the distance and won by 20 seconds most races, but behind him you had a real fight. And as they understand these regulations a little bit more with every passing race, with every passing weekend, they were getting closer to Red Bull. And if they've done just enough, then they're going to be there with Max. And that is going to make one of like the most amazing seasons ever. That it's there. They're just there. They're just getting there. So no, it wasn't dull. It was a fantastic year. You watched McLaren go from last to second.
Yeah.
You watched Mercedes go from the doldrums at the start of the year to then being second fastest to then slowly fade away. Ferrari, very inconsistent. One race there, next race down there, then they're back up there, and then they're in the middle somewhere. Alpine had a couple of races where they were on fire. Alpine somehow out of nowhere shithoused a couple of podiums. Where did they come from? Yeah. So there was a lot to talk about. So no, I don't think 2023 was dull. See, I just think Max winning was maybe a bit excessive, but overall,
I've never seen a dull race before in my life. There's always stuff to
there is a few.
I think,
but not last
year. I think
year.
France 2020 or something, 2019 in France.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was a really. I think the highlight of that race was Ricciardo taking over a few cars. But he actually did it off track, so he got a penalty for it.
Like there's a couple of standout boring races in the last 5 to 10 years. The one for me will always be Sochi 2017. There was not one overtake after lap 1.
And Lewis won.
No, Bottas won. Actually.
Bottas.
Yeah, it's a good battle. There's a good battle between Bottas and Vettel, but you knew the entire time Vettel didn't have a chance. No. Like he was just stuck because of that track. But look, there are bad races. There was a couple of boring races last year, but there wasn't any properly dull races last year.
But you see, with all these street tracks coming up, you actually start missing Paul Ricard and Sochi.
Yeah, no, don't miss Sochi.
No. But I always liked Sochi, the start with that really long straight.
Sochi was great at the start. The only good thing about Sochi was the start of that race because you had the person who was in pole position was unlikely to lead.
Yeah.
Which is the good thing. Like they were likely to lose their place to the person not in second place, but the person in third place, because the person in third place had a slipstream all the way into turn 1. And it happened quite a lot. Like you saw that the person in third would actually lead out of turn 1. So no, that's the only redeeming feature about Sochi. Everything else about it was terrible, and I'm glad it's gone. Paul Ricard had some good races. I think Paul Ricard had better races than it was ever given credit for. I think the race, was it 2021? That was the one where Verstappen did a 2-stop, was it? And Hamilton and Bottas did a 1-stop, and Verstappen had to come back and just by the end caught Hamilton, took the place. The 22 race was building up to be an amazing race before Leclerc threw it in the wall. What was the first race there? I remember really enjoying the 2018 one. That was a multi-stop race. Vettel had an incident with someone, like hit Bottas, and they had to both come through the field, I believe. It was a 2-stop race. It was a lot of fun. 2019 was garbage, and I think that's what gave it its really bad reputation. That, and it's an eyesore to look at. So I kind of miss Paul Ricard. I think it had better races than what people gave it credit for. But yeah, I don't miss Sochi. I do not miss Sochi.
Those colourful lines everywhere, and the fact that you can make 185 different tracks out of it made it a bit weird.
Yeah. But no, I miss permanent. I
I
do
might
miss
come
some
back and
permanent
then they'll
races.
spray it for the sprint race or something.
Yeah.
Because they have the option to do that there.
Yeah, run a different layout. Get rid of the chicane. Have them run all the way down the straight into Lebose, I believe it was called, that fast right-hander. Hell of a track then. Just get rid of that chicane halfway down the straight.
See, I accidentally mentioned sprint races, but we'll do that on another podcast at some point.
Yes, yeah, I don't want to talk about sprint races.
So, what are your expectations then? You touched on it a little bit for 2024. You think the cars are so close together now that 2024 will be a banger?
It has the potential. Like, ultimately, we don't know how much gains people have made. Italian media will tell you Ferrari's winning every race because they've found 1,000,000 miles an hour somehow. But we know that's not the case. They always make weird predictions. But ultimately, I think it has the potential. That's the thing. It has the potential. I'm not going to say, yes, it's going to be amazing. We're going to get 10 different winners. It has the potential to do that because they are getting closer. It's just a matter of how much gains has a certain team made over the winter break.
Yeah.
What team is that? I'll let you decide that one. But it has potential. It has potential. McLaren's getting there. Ferrari started getting there towards the end of the year. I'm very intrigued to see what Mercedes can do because they say that they've sorted out their issues. And I'm very intrigued because I think when they did bring side pods onto their car, there was a glimmer of hope. But they built their car around no side pods. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do now that they've got a brand new chassis with a new floor arrangement, all suited towards a car that has side pods. I'm intrigued. I think they're a dark horse, but I haven't got a clue what they're going to do. Nobody knows what Mercedes is going to do. But Ferrari and McLaren, based on the end of last year, have great potential to get closer to Red Bull. It's just a matter of how much gain has Red Bull made, really. If they've made a lot, then we're going to get more of the same. But if they haven't made as many gains, 2024 has such good potential to be a banger year.
You know, I've been thinking about it, and I do read all the interviews, you know, the proper people in F1 give. And one of the interviews was from Jake Dennis, who's the test driver or the sim driver for Red Bull.
Yeah.
And yeah, he said something like Red Bull has been working on this year's car, and they're so far ahead that they've already started working on the next car.
Yeah.
So they gained a lot. And then what I've heard about Ferrari is that they have 95% new stuff on their car. So, you know, you don't know how that's going to work out. We know Mercedes is starting a whole new concept. The snags that Red Bull had 2 years ago when they started, you know, being was it slow in the slow corners or
Yeah.
those problems or problems like that, you know, like unforeseen problems. I think all those teams with completely new stuff on their car, they're gonna run into problems, which is gonna slow them down.
Yeah.
So I haven't made my prediction video yet. You know, I call that the blind prediction video, doing it before the testing.
Yep.
But I'd say Red Bull P1 and then McLaren P2 and Ferrari P3 and Mercedes P4.
I've seen a lot of that. On my previous predictions, I've seen a lot of people suggesting the same thing. Ultimately, it depends how much does Ferrari change. I think Ferrari were getting into a very good position. If they've changed a lot of things, all right, there is a potential that it does all fall apart. They were getting there, though. So I'm intrigued to see what they can do. Do I think they're going to fully overcome Red Bull? No. Red Bull's ultimately going to win. I'm signed, sealed, delivered. I'm fine with
Unless
that.
Red Bull walks into a new problem. You know,
Unless they do that. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible.
if you develop far enough, you can go too far in certain things as well. You know.
Yeah, no, that is possible. I think it's unlikely, but it is possible. But ultimately, when I say we've got a potential banger year where, like, you know, a load of different drivers can win races, I don't mean it like it's going to be an equal proportion.
No.
I think it's going to be a case of Max wins. Let's say he wins 10 races. Just plucking numbers, but let's say he wins 10 races. He's ultimately going to win the championship quite easily just from that. But behind, you're going to get. I think there is a good chance that you can get like a Leclerc one race, a Lando Norris one race, a Piastri one race, fucking Lewis Hamilton could win a race. Perez might win 2 races again. That's where I'm very happy with that because look, you've got loads of different winners.
What
All right,
about
Max won a lot of races.
Any Spanish drivers?
No.
No, Sainz,
no,
Sainz
genuinely. I think Sainz can win a race. Yeah, Sainz can win a race.
And
Sainz has his
Alonso?
race. Carlos has his race. Alonso,
Would be
no.
cool, though.
Yeah.
Because I've been hammering on about the 300 race curse. You know what that is?
It's real.
It's real.
Can Alonso win a race?
He should have done it in Monaco last year.
He could have won Monaco. Yeah, they threw that one away. I don't think so. I don't think Aston Martin has the legs in them. Aston Martin is still developing. Like Aston Martin's still building the foundations, like for their team. So I don't think they're there yet. They're getting there with all their new fancy new facilities. They have hired a lot of people over the years, so they're getting there. I don't think they're going to be there next year. This year, sorry, I should say. So I don't see him winning races. I see him getting a few podiums, but I think the actual big teams have moved ahead a bit too much.
Yeah. Well, we're all going to come back to this later. You know,
I don't want to.
No, but it's all making sense, all the things that you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it works. So, so do you have any wild predictions then for next season?
My wildest prediction is we're going to get we're going to get more different winners, and I think we're going to get a new race winner. They're probably going to come from an orange car.
Papaya.
Do with that information what you want. Yeah, a papaya car. Sorry. Do with that information what you please. Those are my 2 main ones. Max is going to win the championship. He's probably going to win it with 4 races to go again, but there's a lot of potential. I think that we are going to get more winners. The team that makes the biggest move is going to be what are they called? Visa Cash App Racing Bulls.
We can talk about that. You know, I think the people at AlphaTauri or the Red Bull sister team, they've seen how much hype that was created for the Stake F1 team. You know, everybody was going on about how the name changed. You know, the same sort of thing happened when they started registering names. You know, these news outlets they drop on it, and they bring that out in the media, and then everybody on Twitter and Facebook and everything on social media starts talking about it, and that's exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So now you hear all the really weird names going about, and then at the end of the day, they're going to be called Visa Racing Bulls with a big with a big Cash App sticker on the side. Yeah. And people are going to call it Racing Bulls.
Yeah, it's no different to Sorry, let me get this right. Aston Martin, Aramco, Cognizant, Mercedes. It's Aston Martin.
No, I think it's Aston Martin, Aramco, Cognizant, Formula One team.
Whatever. Yeah, but anyway, it's Aston Martin, and that's what this is going to be. It's going to be Racing Bulls. It's not really. They're probably going to maybe put the Visa in the logo, but that's no different to Red Bull, Aston Martin, Tag Heuer, Honda, whatever it was. It was just It was just Red Bull. It's people are making a deal out of it because they're bored, probably. But it's just going to be Racing Bulls.
What's your idea about sister teams in general? Because that's a discussion that Zach Brown is going on about.
Woo! Sister teams. I don't think they're as bad as what people make out to be. Toro Rosso was a sister team for Red Bull from 2006 until 2017, 2019, nobody said a thing about it because there was no reason to, because they were ultimately very different teams, even though they were a sister team for that entire time. AlphaTauri was still a sister team to Red Bull, and now Racing Bulls is still a sister team, but they're closer aligned, whatever that means. Is it going to be a carbon copy? Well, hey, Aston Martin had a carbon copy of a Mercedes, or Racing Point had a carbon copy of a Mercedes, so it's happened before with teams that are not sister teams. So I think in a perfectly healthy world would sister teams exist? No, we don't live in a perfectly healthy world though. And then you've got Haas. Haas are basically take as much from Ferrari as they possibly can. So it's the same thing as Racing Bulls taking as much as they can from Red Bull. The only difference between Racing Bulls taking everything from Red Bull versus Haas taking everything from from Ferrari is that Racing Bulls are probably more competent and have more resources than Haas do to make the most of what they take from their sister team.
See, in a perfect world, Red Bull shouldn't have bought Minardi in the first place.
Yeah, but they saved.
At the time, nobody wanted that team. And the F1 organization didn't want to lose a team off the grid.
Yeah.
So they allowed, Dieter Mateschitz to take over that team, saved all the jobs, and made it a sister team to put junior drivers forward.
Yeah. And even in that era, you had Honda create, let's say, they didn't buy a team, they created Super Aguri, which was their sister team for a while. All right, that only lasted like 1.5 years, but they had a sister team. So it's been there for a while. Do I like that they share parts as much as they're allowed to? Not really, but all teams share parts. All teams share parts. Mercedes supplied parts to Williams and McLaren and Aston Martin. Ferrari supply parts to Haas, and and Red Bull supply parts to Racing Bulls. They all have that capability to do the exact same thing, except Alpine.
I think what Alpine. Zach Brown is talking about is more what happens on track. Certain drivers fighting other drivers not as hard.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like the idea that.
Like when Max Verstappen starts way back, then all of a sudden the two AlphaTauris start from the pit lane, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and I
don't like that.
Even if there were valid reasons, people are still suspicious about it.
Yeah. What was it? The one when Tsunoda broke down in
that was
Zandvoort. Yeah, went into the pits, then came back out and broke down, and all of a sudden Verstappen gained from that. A lot of people were upset. But look, it happened. Was it foul play? Probably not. No, I don't actually remember what the issue was. It was a suspension issue, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
I think he got he got a certain warning, and then it disappeared again.
Yeah.
And then he went on track again, and then the proper issue showed up.
Yeah, but it happens.
But Max actually, for the strategy that they had, didn't even benefit from that, because he was planning on going way longer, and he was forced into a pit stop.
Yeah. But wasn't it Bottas that did that? Wasn't that Bottas who broke down just afterwards or something?
Yeah. He caused the second safety car.
Yeah.
But and then it was Ted Kravitz saying like, "Oh, I know we're at the North Sea, but something smells fishy here." And then Hannah Smith's got abused.
Yeah, sadly.
That's the sort of stuff I fight with my channel.
Yeah. No, that's it. You fight for that, and I think it's a great thing, because it is nonsense. Like those sort of things. There is no vendetta or like something like purposely fixing of races. Stuff happens.
Stuff happens.
Shit happens, basically.
That's true. So we're getting towards the end of the podcast. We've been talking for an hour now.
Bloody hell, have we? It's gone quick.
Hey, and is there something you wanna ask?
I think as a Dutch person,
yeah,
is Max Verstappen winning as much as he is boring to you?
But I started watching in 2015 when Max made his debut, and at the time it was always Lewis Hamilton or Nico Rosberg winning. But obviously I was focused on this kid in a Toro also. So I learned to enjoy races without having my driver winning.
Yeah. But the difference was, though, like, I know I'm going to sound like a Team LH person here, but the difference was, though, you had Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. All right, they're both Mercedes drivers, but you had both drivers. Whereas, no offense to Perez, he's not on Verstappen's level. He has his one race a year. His one just happens to be a street race, and everyone thinks he's an amazing street racer, and then he fumbles all the other street tracks. Verstappen, however, is on another level. It's always Max.
But in the years when Rosberg left, so 2017, 18, 19, 20, Lewis Hamilton won loads of races, and Bottas wasn't given him much of a fight. Only the first couple of races. But I've never seen a boring race, because there was always plenty of stuff happening.
Yeah.
And obviously, if I sit down to watch a race, then I'm hoping that Max wins. That's the guy I'm rooting for. But it's not like that I hated Singapore for him not winning.
Yeah.
I do admit that I sort of switch off from Max to follow what's happening on the rest of the track, because I know he's all the way forward, and he's got a pit stop to spare pretty much. But then he gets excited again because he says, "Oh, I've got a 21-second lead. Can I do a pit stop for a fastest lap?" So
no,
we're not concerned about that now. Yeah, but I am.
So no, I agree. I mean, ultimately, I agree with you in that. Like I said, the most enjoyable way to watch 2023 was to ignore Max Verstappen and actually enjoy everything else, and that's where then you had a really good season behind Max. So yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree. I was just intrigued if you sometimes go, oh boy.
Yeah, well, see, it's a choice. Like, if next or this season, they all come out of the garage and they're really level, then I'd enjoy the competition, and I'm still rooting for Max.
Yeah.
But then, last season that wasn't the case, and I'm still rooting for Max. But it's just a little less exciting, but it's never boring.
No, I agree. I agree.
The same as this podcast was never boring either.
So, I hope not.
Would you like to do a call for action, for people to subscribe to your channel?
I mean, yeah, if everyone would love to, I would appreciate it if you check out the Mr. Pulse F1 channel. All my videos are basically looking at data. I try to do one for every practice. Well, not every practice. I try to do one for Friday practice, Saturday qualifying, and depending on the schedule for the race, I'll try and do a race data analysis. I try and make sure I do a preview and predictions for every single Grand Prix. I did that last year. I'm hoping to be able to carry on to do that. So if you guys want to check that out, then please, hopefully in the description is a link to my channel.
Well, there's one subscriber who loves data and he knows everything about Aero, and I'm 100% sure that you'll gain at least one subscriber out of this podcast.
Well, I hope so.
Darren, thank you very much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
And we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We will do. Yes. Nice to see you guys. All right.
Doei.
See you. Bye.